skip it. See it or skip it. See it or skip it.
Welcome to a new See It or Skip It, where we're going to be talking about Rental Family, plus an interview with Brendan Fraser, the king of all Brendans.
Oh, yeah.
Plus we're going to be talking about Train Dreams. We've got Wicked for Good. Is it going to be good? We'll have to find out. Welcome, Kent. I know you're...
It's so weird to be on this side of the couch. I don't know what to think right now.
I know. I keep turning, and my neck isn't used to going this way.
But it's kind of nice. I can just nudge you.
I know. Well, we have two very special guests with us.
We do.
It's Eli and Meg. How's it going?
Hi.
Hello.
Great.
Both are on the Hive Mind HQ podcast, and what was it was
Strangerville.
Strangerville, awesome. So how long have both of you been doing these?
For too long, about a decade. We've been doing this for about a decade. We do the Hive Mind podcast, which is a movie and TV podcast where we talk about any movie or TV shows that we're watching, and we focus a lot on what's happening in Utah around media. And then the Strangerville podcast, which is a storytelling podcast and live storytelling show that we do in Salt Lake City.
We found ourselves on Strangerville talking a lot about movies when that wasn't the subject matter.
Yeah.
And so we thought, why don't we just launch another podcast specifically about media? And that's grown into a few co-hosts. We cover a lot of different topics, and it's been a lot of fun. Yeah, so like 8 years for Hive Mind.
I got to be a part of that fun a little bit with talking about Rose Red during Halloween. Thank you both for having me on that.
You made us watch like 45 hours of television to prepare for that episode, and we
I don't think I made it any easier this time either.
Welcome to the show.
Yeah.
Truly, the amount of media we've watched in preparation for today, we are so impressed by what you do.
Yes.
Well, I'm so excited to have you both on, and I can't wait to hear what the favorite movie is. So let's start in with Rental Family. Now, Brendan Fraser is an expat. He's living in Tokyo. He's been kind of a working actor, not really the most working, but he's also getting this weird opportunity where he can go in and be a surrogate for really any aspect of somebody's life. Do they need a wife, a husband? Do they need a father? Do they need just a friend?
Journalist to write a story. Yeah.
We had a chance to see this earlier this week, but I want to know from both of you, first, was this the one, or what do you think of the movie?
I think your parents are going to love this movie.
Ooh.
I was charmed by it. I have notes. I think that this movie either needed to commit to one of the storylines or have more storylines than it had, because it placed emotional weight on a few different of the storylines of Brendan Fraser's relationships, and then never really gave us what we needed from the other characters in the relationships. And so when something happened to those characters, I didn't have the emotional response the movie wanted me to.
Okay. Eli, what did you think of this?
Yeah, this was kind of like a B movie for me. I would give it a B. I would pretty broadly recommend it to a wide audience as well. We walked out, Meg and I saw it together last night. I hope my behavior was good in the theater. I get really chatty in movie theaters.
As long as you weren't like applauding or stuff.
Such a yapper in movies.
That's not good.
Yeah, sometimes I get up and walk around the back to stretch my legs.
It's a lot.
But we walked out of the theater last night, and I said to Meg, I'm going to recommend this strongly to my parents. And that's a very specific way for me to say I enjoyed it just fine, and it has broad general appeal, but maybe could use one or two rewrites.
Yeah.
Beautiful shots of Tokyo, and it was visually fun to watch. I have not thought about the story much since leaving.
This movie feels like a warm blanket to me, where like it's very cozy. It's one that you can watch with your family, and all of you can be like, that was really sweet, and then move on with your day, have your family dinner, and do whatever you need to do. But it's all elevated by Brendan Fraser and just how great of an actor he is. You can tell that this is right in his wheelhouse. One of the films that he did early in his career, Blast from the Past, reminds me a lot of that, where this guy that's kind of a fish out of water, trying to figure out what this life is like that he's not really experienced yet. Kent, what did you think about this?
Charm was the right word. This is absolutely charming in a way that I wanted it to be funnier, but I went, aw, this is really tender. But I think the pacing was a little off. It jumped right into one of the major stories in his time as an actor, and I was like, I want to build to that point. I want some more montages that actually give explanation here. He's great. This is a postcard for Japan. Like, I full-on want to book a trip right now.
Right. Oh, everything looked beautiful.
Soak it in. Absolutely. I think I'm getting to the point where I'm like, I think I'm the parent that likes this.
Yeah, are we the
You know?
No shade.
I did kind of like go, aw, but will I forget about it in a week? Absolutely, I will.
Yeah.
The awe moment for me was followed usually by questioning the parents and decisions by the people that were making the surrogacy thing. And I guess that's the point, right? You're not supposed to really understand the cultural changes of why people want to do this, but this is the way they're doing it because there's a mental health stigma. And I liked that part of it, where they're talking about how, look, in different areas, you can't just like go on a website and, you know, go to BetterHelp and talk with someone. That could be looked at really badly from your family, but I don't think they explored that enough. I wish there's a little more.
I had a lot of follow-up questions for a lot of the characters.
I mean, there's a side story with his boss that gets like, all of a sudden there's a twist at the end where I'm like, wait a minute, tell me more about this.
Oh, and the boss
is really dynamic,
and it's
but they
not
kind of dropped it.
Yeah, never revisited.
That guy was in Shogun, by the way. Which, amazing show.
He's very handsome.
It's a very handsome movie. Overall, though, I think I would give it a see it. It's definitely a family film, and that's what I think is going to be the big selling point. But what would you say?
I'd say see it as well. It was weird to watch a movie like this in the theater, but I liked seeing it in the theater.
Yeah, I'd say see it, and if I had seen it on an airplane, it would have made me cry, because you know that's what happens in airplanes. So see it on an airplane. Yes.
See it for you.
See it with your mom.
Hey, very cool. Well, with that being said, go with your mom. Make sure that you check this out, and also take a look at this interview that we had with Brendan Fraser.
Brendan, this is definitely a highlight of my career, and what an incredible film to be able to talk to you about. Your performance is fantastic. I was looking through the production notes and saw just how much you immersed yourself into this story, going to Japan, learning the language, using a translator app to connect with people. My first question was learning to speak differently part of learning to feel differently for this role?
Yes, Philip is an expat living in Tokyo. He's been there for some 7 years or so. So he has certainly picked up the language. I needed to sit down with a tutor, which I did for a number of weeks before we began. I didn't retain all of it, but thankfully once I did make it to Tokyo, there were so many people to help out. But I learned the role as wrote, and also, mindful that it is a Japanese film with Japanese actors, locations, sets, crafts, everything. And my, among them, job was to learn as much Japanese as I could, speak it convincingly as an expat would in Tokyo, not a native speaker, but able to communicate. I found myself able to, by the time we left, understand the basic structure of just basic conversations, and it gave me a real shot of confidence that thinks, hey, I could do this. I had a terrific time. You only need to show up there, really, to understand what you need to do.
You also said that family is who we include rather than who we're assigned to. How has your journey, both in life and in Hollywood, reflected that idea?
The theme of found family is a strong one in Rental Family. The epidemic of loneliness that exists in major cities, anywhere in the world, really. I mean, this film is a love letter to loneliness. It's addressed to Tokyo, but it could be anywhere. Even in a place like that, a real metropolitan beehive of activity, it's possible to feel disconnected, solitude, to have a need to have family fulfilled, and you'd think that it seems counterintuitive in a way, but I can speak truthfully that there is an epidemic of loneliness, and there are real world health consequences, mental health consequences, demographic reasons that needs to be improved on. And it seems a simple enough thing, spending time with one another, even if it's only for a short while, even if it's under the guise of a certain surrogacy to stand in as a boyfriend, girlfriend, grandfather, mother, groom, father, for a client who lacks that connection, it does serve a purpose. The film is based on premise. It is a business model that's been in place since the 1980s, actually, and I think that to this day, I think there's some 300, probably more now, plus agencies that cater to these clients.
Thank you so much for your time, Brendan. I cannot wait to see you, hopefully, in The Mummy 4 and everything you've done. I'm just a big fan, so thank you.
Thanks, pal. Be well, yeah?
All right, we're back, and we are going to be talking about Wicked for Good. Oh. Here's the thing. When I watched the first Wicked, I hadn't seen the Broadway show. I was in theater in high school, so I know the majority of it.
It's important.
Yes, and it blew me away, that
Sure.
first movie.
Yeah.
I felt like I could fly after it. Like, Cynthia Erivo was incredible. I loved the dynamic with her and Ariana Grande. I loved the Hogwarts feel of Shiz, but then this movie comes along and totally switches everything in a way that I don't think ended up being for good. So, Eli, what did you think of this?
I think this entire movie felt like a really bad encore. And it was like 3 hours of why are we still doing this? And I say this as somebody who, I loved the first film and I was really excited for this one. I expected this to not be as good as the first film, which is, I think it was my favorite movie of last year just in terms of like enjoying watching something, right? And so I came into this and I was like, okay, it's not going to be quite what last year's film was, but I'm sure it'll still be fun. And it was not very fun. It looks beautiful in a lot of places. I think Ariana Grande still delivers a good performance. The music is not nearly as fun, and the story is very oddly paced and falls apart in multiple places. So it was a bit disappointing.
I think that this movie is not good, and it's not entirely the movie's fault, because I think the second half of the musical is pretty bad and pretty boring. It's definitely a leave it intermission musical, and they tried to salvage the story. They added more to it, though, that just made it more confusing. I mean, it's already a confusing plot, and the things they added to it made it even more confusing. This should have been one movie.
Yes.
We didn't need Wicked 2 parts, and I understand it's money for the studio, but I feel like it did a disservice to the first movie.
Would this be the first musical to ever split itself into 2 parts that was put to film? I can't remember if there's any other that had done that before.
Yeah.
And you're right. I don't think, at least if you're going to stretch it out to a year to wait before, you've got to come with more, and it can't just be a couple new songs. I do think there's 2 songs that are still incredible, and by the time you get to the end, there's a lot that you can forgive just by way of these are 2 iconic characters in Broadway history.
I think by the end, I was sold enough because Cynthia Erivo and Ariana Grande are so good together, right? That's what we were sold on in the first movie, and so when they finally are brought back together, I was like, I like these 2 together. But they were separate nearly the entire time, and when they were, the movie fell flat for me. It just felt lifeless.
They're spending all of that time trying to reconnect it into the Wizard of Oz, but it's not the Wizard of Oz. These are all very different characters than what you've seen from the original, and I think that is going to confuse a lot of audiences. They don't necessarily want to show main characters, but they keep them involved throughout, which I think is kind of having your cake and eating it too. You can't, if you're going to show them, you got to really introduce them. But overall, this is something that I was pretty disappointed with. I don't think this is one that, I know the fans are going to go anyway, right? Like,
yeah, of course.
Whatever we
It'll
say,
make
it doesn't
so much
matter.
money.
But it's still one that I would say, if you're not invested, you could probably wait for it or just watch the first movie.
Yeah, I think the direction of this one is all the way off, whereas John Chu did a really great job the first time around. He tried to make the second part a full movie. Like, he tried to give a rise and fall of emotion, but really, this is a really tragic second half. But he tried to give us the happy moments that felt disingenuine, so.
Production design's still great. Sound design, a little iffy, but overall, this is still one that I guess I would recommend for the fans, but not necessarily for an average moviegoer. What do you guys think?
If you liked the first movie, I think you need to see the second one, but just go in with low expectations.
You might be surprised, Megan.
See it and be prepared to be disappointed.
Yeah. Yep. Well, it's a tentative see it.
You do a machete cut of this movie and make it 3 hours at one point, and I think you have a solid double movie experience.
Bring Topher Grace in.
Yeah,
Let
absolutely.
him work on it a little bit.
Cut out the original songs. We don't need them.
Yeah. Wow, man. It's a little disappointing, but still, I think people are going to have fun with their families and go and enjoy it for what it is. So if you guys have seen it and you think we're wrong, let us know in the comments. I've got all of our handles you can attack us with. I'm just kidding. With that being said, let's jump into
Eli.
Yeah. I'll take it. I take a lot of abuse.
Exactly. Straight to Eli, nobody else. With that said, let's move over to our physical media savant, Leo, to give us the disc drop.
Hello everyone, welcome back to the Disc Drop, where I'm here to tell you guys everything new on physical media this week. And it's a little slow this week, there's not many titles out, but I'm here to show you guys why it's important to have physical media in your home. First, ownership. We love to own our favorite movies and watch them over and over again and not have that worry that someone's going to take that away from you. The streaming services tend to change it up every month, and sometimes they take away your favorite movie and you can't find it anywhere. But here, you grab it off the shelf, you put it on, and you can watch it on repeat. You can watch your favorite songs over and over again, your favorite scenes over and over again. And the beauty is that you put it right back and you own it forever. Number two, special features. Something that we love as physical media collectors is how many special features come on your 4K and Blu-ray disc. And I tell you, it's very important to have some new interviews, some new commentary, some new extras that we've never seen before. We love to see the behind the scenes and how the magic is being made before it hits the big screen. And also the packaging. This is beautiful packaging, and if it's very beautiful and it comes loaded with stuff, we're definitely gonna buy it. And third, nostalgia. I feel like that kind of hits with everybody that owns physical media, remembering those days when you went to Blockbusters or Hollywood Video with your family and picked out a movie. Kind of doing that with your own family, with your own kids, showing them the importance of physical media and how important it is for our future to kind of own this and make sure you have a library of content that you can show for more years to come. Now, onto the new releases of this week. We have a Better Tomorrow trilogy on 4K for the first time. This comes from Shout Factory. They released so many amazing movies. They loaded up with special features. So if you love martial arts and action movies, this is the one for you. Second one this week, we have Casino for this beautiful 4K steelbook. If you love this classic movie, make sure to get yourself a copy. Well, that's my time this week, guys. Thank you guys for joining me. And make sure to buy physical media. It's important. Come back next week for the disc drop, and I'll see you guys next time.
Thank you, Leo. And now let's talk about this Netflix film that I had the pleasure to be able to see a few weeks ago, Train Dreams. Now, this is from the director that did Sing Sing. He also did film Jockey that came out a couple years ago at Sundance. This guy knows how to make a story, and I had so much emotion watching this movie. Joel Edgerton, this is based on, not necessarily a full book, but kind of like a poem that has been adapted to this. It's basically a story about a 20th century person. The exciting parts, the boring parts, everything. You just have a look at a life, and it's told very beautifully. Kent, what did you think of this?
I was swept away by this. I wanted maybe a little bit more story. I wanted more drama, but at the same time, I'm like, this is slice of life filmmaking right here.
How much more dramatic do you want?
Yeah, that's true. It's really tragic. But I think it was just, it felt like I was living his life with him very slowly, but at the same time, it's so gorgeous. This should be the cinematography pick of the year, honestly. Yeah. And there's so many like side actors that come in for a few minutes, and I'm like, wait a minute, come back. But they just need to be there for a few minutes to leave their impact. Yeah. It's honestly pretty magical. It may not be for everyone, but I was pretty captivated.
And that's the thing. This is not a story that's going to leave you feeling really great after and pumped. It's a very somber look, and it can be really depressing. It could be hopeful, but in a very melancholy way. But what did you think of this, Meg?
I wish, Patrick, that you had given me a warning about what I was about to watch, because it started and I thought, oh, Little House on the Prairie, this is so fun. Yeah. And I was emotionally devastated by this movie. It is beautiful and heartbreaking, and William H. Macy is in it, and I am William H. Macy's #1 fan. Everything about this just really landed right for me. Devastating, beautiful, a must-watch.
And it's delving into like 20th century industrial revolutions, right? Yeah. What did you think about them bringing that into the story, where like we're not just dealing with a family, but this is a family that's going through changes in the world that a lot of families are going through right now with the rise of AI?
I think that it's fascinating to watch a movie about that specific time period of a man who lives in a log cabin, but that can also take a train and see television. Like that,
yes.
Maybe for the first time I was like, oh, that must have been a very interesting time to be alive, to see that much innovation. And I wonder if you asked about AI, do we just not think about it in our lifetimes, but are we seeing that amount of technological innovation that someone looking back will be like, what do you mean she was alive for ChatGPT's invention?
Right. Yeah.
That changed everything.
We're even thinking about like the iPod. Like how music has changed into it.
Cell phones.
I'm going to guess, Eli, though, this is your favorite movie.
I loved it. I absolutely loved it. And similarly, it started in like the first 3 minutes. I was like, Little House on the Prairie, what are we doing? I'm about to spend 2 hours of my life on this. And by the end, I was so captivated. I cannot stop thinking about this movie. This is a kind of story and film that makes history that sometimes feels like very long ago seem actually not that long ago at all. Because at the beginning of this film, they're sort of in a post-Civil War era, kind of figuring out what their lives look like. And by the end, they're, spoiler alert, sorry, but they're watching spaceships, you know, try to land on the moon. And it's like, oh, none of this is that long ago, actually. And it's really, really wild to see this man's life over the course of that very interesting period. I felt like this story felt very similar to East of Eden, which covers a similar time period, maybe a little bit earlier than that. But these stories that follow somebody's life and all of the heartbreak and heartache and loneliness that can come along with that as they sort of just move and navigate through their careers and they're building their families and loss and grief and all of that are just, this speaks to me very specifically. And to add to all of that, the performances are great and it is so beautifully shot.
We were talking about cinematography earlier, but do we think that this is up for any other awards contenders, whether it be performance, score?
Screenplay.
Screenplay, absolutely. I was really captivated by the score. I think it was beautiful. The cinematography, I can't get over the natural look of it. They didn't even use lighting for this. They were using natural lighting for it, which is insane to think about. I love a movie that you can empathize with someone that you never knew anything about. And people of these times, you only see black and white photos of them. You don't really know like what, and that's about it. Like they worked for the railroad company, and that's the only line that you get. But you see how much life was around this one character. It's so moving. It's absolutely a see it for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, see it, absolutely.
Yeah, see it for everybody.
See it with a box of tissues.
Yeah, and sort of another broad kind of general audience. I think a wide range of people would really enjoy this.
Do you think this is a family film? We could watch it with
Is it not
family?
rated R?
I think PG-13, I believe.
I think it's a family film.
Yeah, I think they're all PG-13.
Then yeah.
I was shocked by that too. We usually have a lot of R-rated movies on these. It's like I'm gonna really try to sell this, but this I think anybody can watch these movies. You just have to go in with a very unique mindset, I guess, for Trained Dreams. Know that it's gonna be a slow burn. It's not a huge action-heavy thing, and you might have a fun time.
You know, even when you start to think like, oh, this might be getting a little slow, something happens. Like it was not as slow as I thought it was going to be. And I was okay with it being slow, but I was actually pretty impressed by the pacing and how interesting it was the whole time.
Yeah.
And you have to wonder, because it's on Netflix, sometimes I'm disappointed. Like, Netflix, let another studio take it. Let it go to theaters. But will it get more exposure because it's on Netflix?
It needs to be in a theater, though.
Yeah.
This movie specifically, actually, I didn't even talk about this. The 4:3 ratio, right? With doing the full screen stuff. Yeah. I've never seen a movie that felt it was justified as much as this. Because the way that they need to show the trees and the environment that they're in, it needed those top screens. I just loved it so much. It was a really great film. Make sure that you guys check this out. It's on Netflix right now. And what else is on is an interview we had with the entire cast of Trained Dreams: William H. Macy, Carrie Condon, Joel Edgerton, and Felicity Jones. Take a look. Your characters both bring a lot of hope into the story.
It's true.
You're looking to the future. You're looking for how do we prevent things from happening? Or in this case, I guess my question is for both of your characters, what does the idea mean for progress coming at the cost of something sacred?
Wow, that's really good. Well, Arn certainly, I mean, he's a rascal and he's good at avoiding work and having two suppers, but he's smart enough to know that there's a cost. We need the wood faster than the trees can be replaced. He knows that something is being lost, and I love that I got to say that.
I suppose I think, like, I wish we would look to the past to learn, you know? I don't understand why we don't learn anything from the past, especially when you watch this movie and you're like, why have we not wised up, like, to the... It seems like we're still the same, and I suppose progress now, to me, would be like, you know, computers taking over jobs for people, you know, and I'm like, and then what? Like, people are going to commit crime because they're not going to have any money. You know, so I just wish we, like, would look to the past and learn, I suppose.
This movie, to me, sort of brings up the question, what does it mean to be human? Times were tough then. They died young, and they died violently. It wasn't a panacea, certainly, but these days, when really we're not needed, so many of us are just not needed for the fabric of life, because there's so many of us. And back then, those guys had to cut the trees to supply the wood, to make the paper. They were needed. If they didn't do it, somebody else would. And one of the things the film does for me is it makes me rejoice in my humanity. It's not so sad to me. It's a little melancholy, but hopeful.
You're dealing with this time where we're only used to seeing like these couples in like black and white photos, and we don't really see them brought out to life. And you're in this kind of survival mode where you have to go out and spend so much time away from your wife, but you're also, there's so much tenderness and love when you two are together. What was it like finding that in rehearsal or when it was rolling?
Yeah, I think that's what we were. It's quite interesting with improvisation because a lot of it can be really bad before you get to something that works. So you do sometimes feel quite exposed, and you'll be doing something and you're going, this just feels weird, this isn't working. But hopefully within those little moments you find little gems. I think the basis of this film, I mean, it felt very straightforward as a filming process. It felt really fluid and easy. I think, Joel had lived with this story for many, many years, and Clint comes with such confidence that he can let you do your own thing and you can find it together. So it was an incredibly easy experience to make it, actually.
Well, this idea of creating the beating heart of a film that we're also going to, spoilers aside, fret for the loss of certain things, is building the full sort of picture of a relationship rather than just the kind of kinetic connection and the love and the intimacy, but also, the domestic life and the fear and foolishness of being new parents and
the struggle as well.
The struggles, yeah. and seeing them in various environments and have tension with each other. It felt like a real lived-in relationship rather than just like, oh, here's a romance we're gonna miss. I thought that was sort of one of the successes of our building of that relationship with Clint.
Yeah, you have to be really careful because sometimes it can go a bit SNL. That if you don't have the authenticity in it, and the authenticity comes from actually when they're not getting on with each other, when it's not perfect, when there's a feeling of depression, or that's how you find you have to find the reality in it.
And not the over-beautification of either of us or our romance.
Yeah, yeah.
If there was an SNL sketch, that would be crazy for this movie. Another question is kind of about like the revolution of what your career is in this. Like you're seeing these new engines and chainsaws coming in. And I'm wondering in both of your careers and your craft, what was a chainsaw moment for you where maybe something that was really difficult at the start or something in your craft was hard to grab onto, and then as time went on, it became incredibly easy?
Well, for me, in a filmmaking sense, it was when Michael Mann and Fincher were the first couple of guys to go, we're going to make a full feature film on digital.
Yeah.
I'm old enough to have shot most of the first things I ever did on film. And then watch film kind of slip away into the past. Happy to say it's getting a bit of a resurgence here and there. But yeah, there's this overtaking the world in digital, and now obviously I stare at kids doing TikTok videos on the street, and I'm like, it makes me feel old, disconnected, and the way my grandmother felt when I first pointed a video camera at her and she didn't understand that she could move.
Yeah,
that it was a
she
photo.
was static.
I'm like, you can move, you can move.
What was amazing is I remember when we were shooting on film that I would always be like hanging around in the trailer. There'd be so much more waiting. And then suddenly when we were on digital, there was no, because you didn't have to turn around, there was no sort of lengthy lighting. Suddenly the whole process became so much quicker.
Yeah.
But I do have to say it is lovely seeing stuff going back to shooting on film.
Those cameras, from the Panavision to the Alexa, Steadicam, streaming.
I started, it was Polaroids were for continuity. Do you remember they'd take the Polaroid camera? So there was...
And $1 a picture?
Yeah, and they'd have them all in a folder because that's how they do. And now just with digital, you can just take so many pictures. But yeah, and when I started as a teenager, it was still the Polaroid.
We use no lights on this film. Adolfo shot this whole thing, even in the campfire, without lights. That means everything goes a lot faster because you don't have to set up those lights. Those cameras are astounding. They changed everything.
Oh, I guess, I suppose nowadays, it's more of an industry like the awards and stuff, you know, and it's a good thing, like hair and makeup and stylists are employed and a lot of people, so it's become more of a bigger thing. Whereas years ago, like even if you look even to the 90s, like people, it wasn't such a big thing. I believe so, right? Like it was like people wore more of their own clothes and stuff. Now it's a whole industry, and I mean, but that's good. You know, it's a rising tide, raises all boats.
If you could bring anything back from the early 20th century to use now that maybe we've forgotten as we've grown with technology, what would it be?
Pen and paper.
Oh, that's good.
A compass.
A compass is a bit...
There's a great story about the American Navy out there, and their own system went down, and there were 200 ships floating in the ocean, and not one captain knew how to read the stars. They didn't know how to get home.
Good Lord.
You can bet the Navy brought them all back and taught them how to read the stars, use a sextant. I think we can get too modern for ourselves, for our own good. AI is going to change everything, man.
Oh, God. I don't know. Sometimes I like the barbaric nature of medicine in those days. You know, like big load of vodka and then pull out your tooth.
Mm-hmm.
Something about that. I don't know what kind of...
I'll do without that part.
Or what are the things that they would put on to suck the blood? Leeches.
Leeches.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
They're
that
still
was
using
wild.
leeches. That works.
Probably like to lose weight or something crazy.
No.
Is
If
it?
you cut off a limb, they'll put a leech here, and they've got something that'll get the blood flowing. They use... Yes, in this modern day and age, they use leeches still.
All right, thank you again, everybody, for watching, and thank you both for coming onto the show. Eli, Meg, where can the people find you?
Thank you. Where can they find you?
They can find me on Instagram at meg.walter, and they can find our Hive Mind Instagram at HiveMindHQ. I always forget to add the HQ, but it's HiveMindHQ.
That sounds great. Just Google me. You can. I maintain no privacy on the internet. And then also you can find us at Strangerville, the Strangerville podcast, wherever you get your podcasts.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. Will you come back?
Absolutely.
We would love to.
Will you come back?
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
We love attention. Have us back anytime.
Well, you are always welcome back, so thank you again. Make sure that you scan the QR code. Oh, Bacon Cell Podcast.
Oh, yeah, Bacon Cell Podcast, and read my reviews at ShowtimeShowdown.com.
Scan the QR code here. You'll be able to go to all of our social media. Check out the full reviews that we did last week, Within Your Dreams with Simu Liu and Krista Milioti. There's all kinds of stuff that we have going on. Thank you again, as always, for watching. Here's a sneak peek of what we're going to be talking about next week.